To increase the speed and accuracy in testing a chassis' air brakes, ABS and lighting systems, MTW has invested in Lite-Check automated testing equipment. The model demonstrated in this video is the Lite-Check Inspector 910B. The Lite-Check system features functions that help our mechanics to test the brake circuit, test the auxiliary circuit, and read the ECU for ABS faults. The Lite-Check Inspector will operate all chassis circuits from the unit's control panel or a remote control, and the software will identify the status of the circuit and identify which circuit a problem is on. The inspector will also control the emergency air and service air supplies, actuate the air brakes, and perform air leak tests on the service and emergency air systems. The inspector also includes software to communicate with ABS controllers to help identify issues and recommend repair procedures. The Lite-Check Inspector is connected to a chassis or trailer in the same way that a tractor is connected, with connections for the service and emergency air lines and the 7-way electrical system. Before connecting the system, remember to always inspect both clad hands and the 7-way plug on the chassis to make sure they are secure and that they appear to be in proper operational condition. First, connect the air hoses and 7-way electrical cable to the Lite-Check Inspector. Then connect the other end of the air hoses and the 7-way cable to the glad hands and 7-way plug on the chassis. Be sure that the service and emergency air lines are connected to their respective inputs and not cross-connected, as this can cause damage to the brake components. Normally the service side will be marked in blue and the emergency side in red. Once these connections are made, power up the Lite-Check system by turning on the power switch at the rear of the unit. Next, press the emergency air button either on the unit or the remote control. This applies air to the emergency air system and releases the spring brakes. This must be done prior to applying the service brakes, as applying air to the service line before the spring brakes are released can cause damage to the brake components, air leaks, and even personal injury. Based on the MTW truck's compressor feed, the emergency air dial should read between 80 and 110 psi. Insufficient pressure will cause inaccurate results, and too high a pressure can stress braking components and possibly cause leaks. Activating the emergency air charges the air tank or tanks and the emergency air lines, so a mechanic can and should listen for any audible leaks while walking around the chassis. To begin testing the electrical system, first press the marker button on the inspector unit or remote control. This turns on all the marker, clearance and identification lights on the chassis, as well as the lamps illuminating the license plate. Then proceed with a visual inspection of those lights, beginning along the left side of the chassis, checking that each light is operating correctly and immediately noting down the location of any that are not. Any missing, broken or non-functioning lights will be replaced or repaired during the maintenance phase of the inspection. The auxiliary ABS light is normally located towards the rear of the chassis. On reaching it, press the auxiliary button on the remote to verify correct operation of the auxiliary circuit and primary power to the ABS ECU. The chassis ABS warning light should flash on momentarily and then turn off. If the light does not come on, the bulb may be missing, faulty, or there could be an issue with the wiring between the lamp and the ABS ECU unit. If the lamp stays on, the lamp may be miswired, or there may be an issue with the ABS system itself. In most cases, you will find that the ABS bulb is missing or damaged, so if the ABS lamp does not come on, the first course of action is to simply replace the bulb during the maintenance phase of the inspection. If any issues still remain after the bulb is replaced, the ABS will require additional diagnostics at the Lite-Check machine, which is described later. After checking the ABS light, press the marker button on the remote again and continue inspecting the rest of the lights on the chassis. On reaching the rear of the chassis, check that the clearance lamps, identification lights and license plate lamps are operational. Then check the stop lights and turn signals. To test the stop lights, press the brake button on the remote. This will supply air to the service side of the brake system, apply the brakes, and the left and right stop lights should come on while the rest of the chassis lights go off. To test the turn signals, first press the left arrow on the remote control to test the left turn signal. Again, all other lights should turn off and the left turn signal should be the only light that is lit. Then press the right arrow to test the right turn signal in the same way. Please note that when the service air is turned on, attention should be paid for any audible leaks in the service side of the air brake system and the location of any leaks noted on the inspection form. Once all of the rear lights have been checked, re-engage the marker lights again and follow through the remainder of the inspection on the right-hand side of the chassis, checking the right rear marker light, the right center marker light and the right front marker light, making sure each light is working and in proper condition. By the time you return to the truck, the air system should be fully charged. If there were any audible leaks or pressure issues in the air system, the Lite-Check inspector can then be used to diagnose the air brake system and quantify air pressure leaks. To do this, engage both the emergency and service air supplies and press the air leak test button. The display will show that an air leak check is being conducted and a 60-second countdown will commence. You will then compare the starting air pressure with the air pressure after 60 seconds to calculate the loss in air pressure per minute. By federal standards, the rate of air pressure loss should not exceed 3 psi per minute on the emergency side air or 2 psi per minute on the service side air. When both the emergency and service air side is engaged during the leak test, air loss on one side or the other will indicate that the leak is external, perhaps escaping through a hose, valve or connector. The equalizing of the emergency side and service side air pressures will indicate that the problem is internal and possibly an issue with an inner seal or bladder. If, after replacing the bulb of a non-functioning ABS light, it still does not test properly, then the Lite-Check inspector can be used to do further diagnostics on the ABS system. To do this, press the ABS button on the Lite-Check panel to begin the ABS testing cycle. This will identify the ECU manufacturer and any ABS PLC faults will be detailed in the display. Press the Select button to read any repair recommendations that might be available for that specific fault. MTW mechanics will also use the Lite-Check system to assist them during brake inspection and adjustment. The remote control makes it very convenient to cycle air and engage and disengage the brakes while checking the operation of components such as the slack adjusters and measuring correct pushrod throw. While under the chassis, simply press the brake button to engage and disengage the brakes as required. Always remember that adequate and consistent pressure is needed for accurate slack adjuster and pushrod measurement, so be sure that correct pressure is available and maintained during these procedures. The Lite-Check Inspector system is a valuable and capable tool in assisting with the speed and accuracy of chassis inspections. Make sure to learn its proper use and to use it to its full potential. Additional information on features and functions is available in both the MTW and Lite-Check operational manuals.